Happening now, lots of Palestinians are fleeing Gaza as Israel says it has launched an expanded ground assault on Gaza City. The offensive comes despite international condemnation and global concerns about the already very dire humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Joining us here in the Situation Room right now is Dr. Mاجد الأنصاري. He's the spokesman for Qatar's Foreign Affairs Ministry and an advisor to the Prime Minister. Mr. Ansari, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for coming into the Situation Room. I know that Qatar has been a key intermediary in the Middle East, not only between Israel and Hamas, but all sorts of other elements as well. Will Qatar continue to play a role in the hostage and ceasefire talks involving Israel and Hamas, despite Israel's ground incursion into Gaza City that is currently ongoing?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me. And I must say, we've been involved in this issue since 2006 when the United States asked Qatar to play the role of mediator between Hamas and Israel. We've went through countless mediations throughout the years to secure either hostage releases, prisoner exchanges, or ceasefires. And as of 2023, after the attacks of 7th of October, we started working very closely with all parties, including the United States and Egypt, our partners in this mediation, to make sure that the mediation succeeds. But the fact that one of the parties decided to bomb the mediator and to bomb the meeting where the Hamas political office were discussing the Trump proposal that was on the table at the time questions the viability of any negotiations over the release and the seriousness of Israel in having
You're talking about Israel's decision to go ahead and attack these Hamas officials who were in Qatar trying to work out some sort of ceasefire and hostage release deal.
Yes, and Wolf, that attack happened in L'Qtaifiyya. You've been to Doha, you know the country very well. L'Qtaifiyya is a residential neighborhood with more than 5,000 people, around 6 schools, 13 embassies are within close proximity to the location. It's a residential area. It's not an isolated place. And the building is a known fact to everybody. Journalists like yourself have been there conducting interviews with the members of the political office of Hamas. And the meeting was actually one day after the Prime Minister of Qatar met with the leader of Hamas and delivered the Trump proposal to them and asked them to deliver an answer by Friday. So the attack was literally on the meeting that was discussing the hostage release and prisoner exchange.
I just want to clarify. Israel, is, in addition to the United States, asked Qatar to play this mediatory role. Is that right?
Yes, and of course, both parties have been engaged heavily in the negotiations. As I said, it was an American proposal on the table, but the Israeli delegations were staying at the Ritz-Carlton days before the attacks took place and were part of the negotiations throughout the years. We've never been asked to stop negotiating on behalf of the parties. We've never been asked by either party to suspend the negotiations at one point.
And the leader of Israel's intelligence community was in Qatar trying to negotiate together with the U.S. and Qatar this new deal and Hamas.
For the past 2 years, the Israeli delegation to the negotiations probably stayed in Doha more than they have stayed in Israel. They've been part of the negotiations, as I said. And as you know, Doha was not placed only to that mediations. We have around 12 mediations going on at the same time between various parties, including what happened today, as you know.
I know you played a very important role with the Taliban in getting the Taliban and the U.S. to work out some sort of deal that allowed the U.S. to withdraw from Afghanistan, the Taliban taking over as a result of that. We don't have to get into that issue right now. But as you know, Hamas's military wing has now issued its strongest message about the hostages, the Israeli hostages still in Gaza, saying that the incursion by Israel means Israel has lost any chance of getting its hostages out of Gaza, dead or alive. What is your response to that?
I must say, we've through the mediations we've done in the past 2 years, we've gotten 148 hostages out, including 119 Israelis out of Gaza. We've shown that mediation, that negotiation, is the way to get the hostages home, is the way to create peace and offer some sort of peace to the Palestinians in Gaza. But sadly, Prime Minister Netanyahu has decided not to be part of that. And, we're working very closely with other parties around the world right now. The 2 British hostages that were freed in Afghanistan today, the talks between Colombia, talks in Colombia and in Doha, all of this is happening at the same time, and it's producing results. And we urge the parties of all conflicts around the world to consider mediation because it has proven itself very useful, and Qatar has always been able to work as a trusted mediator to bring results to the table.
As you know, Qatar condemned Israel's September 9th missile strikes on Doha, targeting these Hamas officials who were in Doha trying to negotiate some sort of ceasefire and hostage release deal. Did that attack also strain Qatar's relationship with the United States and with President Trump?
Right after the attack happened, Wolf, President Trump called on His Highness the Emir. He condemned the attack immediately, and he told him very clearly that this will never happen again because the United States will make sure it never happens again. We're working very closely with our allies and the United States for the new defense
Do you think
agreement.
the U.S. can control Israel on an issue like this?
I mean, Prime Minister Netanyahu has proven that he has become unhinged when it comes to international law and international norms and the actions in the region. You know, in the weekend that he attacked Qatar, he also attacked 7 other nations around the region. So it's a very dangerous situation. I think we need to work together with the United States, of course, and with the international community. This is why we went to the Security Council, to the Human Rights Council in Geneva. We are working now with the ICC and the ICJ to make sure that there are consequences to the actions of Prime Minister Netanyahu.
In addition to what you just mentioned, does Qatar plan to take any other sort of diplomatic or military or legal steps to punish Israel for that strike?
You know, right after the attack, we hosted the Islamic and Arab leaders in Doha and the OIC and Arab League summit that took place with 57 countries attending. More than 30 world leaders were there to voice solidarity with Qatar and to voice their concern at the actions of Prime Minister Netanyahu and the destabilization of the region that he is involved in. You know, Prime Minister Netanyahu has said that he wanted to reshape the Middle East. Well, apparently he wants to reshape the Middle East in his own image of chaos. But this will not deter Qatar from being an active member of the international community. It will not deter us from being a mediator in so many conflicts right now.
Here's what I don't understand. As someone who I've been to Qatar several times, I was there with the U.S. military central command, which has a huge headquarters at the Camp Asaliya ground base and the El Udeid air base, the largest U.S. air base in the entire region. I don't understand why Qatar didn't do what other Gulf states like the UAE and Bahrain did and accept the Abraham Accords and establish full diplomatic relations with Israel.
You know, before the Abrahamic Accords, the API was always on the table, the Arab Peace Initiative. We always believed that this is an Arab question that has to have an Arab-Israeli answer. And therefore, we have always said that unless we have a solution to the Palestinian issue, it will be very difficult to assume a general peace in the region. This is exactly what happened. Today, we have seen the statement by the GCC putting in question the future of the accords and the agreements in the region. Even the United Arab Emirates has hinted to that in so many statements. It's very clear. Peace in the region is not a bilateral issue. It's a regional security architecture that, in the nucleus of it, is solving the Palestinian question.
Yeah, and basically what I hear you saying is that Qatar's position as far as the Abraham Accords and full diplomatic relations with Israel is very similar to Saudi Arabia's position, because Saudi Arabian officials there have told me many times they will only accept Israel after there's an agreement on a Palestinian state.
Yes, and I think you'll find that opinion very prominent in the Arab world right now, especially after what is happening right now in the region. We want a partner for peace in Israel, but the question is, do we have one?
Mاجد الأنصاري, thanks very much for joining us. Thanks for all your good work. Appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you for having me.